We're here at the DEP Permian Basin Barbecue Cookoff, and we're here today with Caterpillar. I've got Collin Clark and Chris Berry. We're going to talk a little bit about Caterpillar, talk about your equipment, and we'll just get into it. But thank you guys both for coming, and it's nice to be here.
We're excited to be here. The barbecue is a great event, and this weather couldn't be better, so we're excited to be here again this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to Daniel's Energy Partners for hosting us, and excited to be here and another great year. And you brought the weather this time. So.
Yeah, we've actually been really lucky with the weather. It's kind of cool, that we're able. It's too hot for this jacket, but it's really good, and we'll have the rest of the event here tonight. So we get to, in a little bit of the quiet time, talk to you guys a little bit about Caterpillar.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So why don't we get into it? Chris or Collin, whoever wants to start, tell me a little bit about who you are, what you're doing at Caterpillar, and then we'll get into a little bit more details.
Yeah, sure. I'll get it started. So Collin Clark, I've been with Caterpillar now 17 years. My entire career has been with the oil and gas division of Caterpillar. Really started off in our product definition team, and then moved into some of our commercial type roles where I covered our Caterpillar dealers who distribute and service our products. And the last 10 years, I've been really around the account management team, covering on some of our large customers, and now I lead some of our well service account team.
Cool.
Yeah. Chris Berry, Caterpillar Oil and Gas, very similar to Collin. We actually both got our start on day one in 2008. So
nice.
And like Collin had mentioned, I've had my whole career with Caterpillar Oil and Gas. Started out in Europe and Africa and Middle East geographic regions. Spent some time internationally in the last 7 years here in Houston in the U.S. And then, very same role as Collin. I lead one of our account relationship teams on the drilling completion side with some of our largest customers. So great to be here. Thanks for all those things.
So hopefully a lot of your customers are here today and tomorrow, so you can go out and see them.
Majority of them, and always fun being here in a more social environment to relax and talk about the next year.
Cool. So one thing that we did back in March now at Thrive, we started talking about your gas mechanical system. You guys unveiled it really at Thrive.
Yeah.
Want to talk a little bit more about that and how it's changed obviously since February or March. Now we're in November. How has it changed a little bit? What are you guys kind of seeing in terms of uptake in the market?
Yeah, no, that's it's been an exciting 7 months since the product launch. It's actually been a full calendar year since the first GMS trailers went to the field.
Okay.
So we have now about 100,000 horsepower operating in the U.S. and Canada, and we have really seen multiple fleets and end users get to experience the GMS technology. For those that weren't or maybe haven't read through some of the press that we put out back at Thrive, the CAT gas mechanical system is our first natural gas dedicated engineered solution that is an engine, transmission, and SPM powertrain that really brings to the market a gas solution. It brings a higher horsepower. It's our G3520, which is a industry-leading platform from Caterpillar. It's a 3,600 horsepower technology. We then have our TH55G, which is our improved hardware and control logic in our legacy TH55 platform that allows the gas engine to operate the way it needs to for our reliability and durability in the oil field. And so we're really excited about that system, and at a high level, the customers and the pumpers who are using it today are very pleased with the performance that they're seeing.
And so tell me a little bit about the end market for this. Is this mostly just for the pumpers, or where else are you guys selling the GMS?
Yeah, the GMS is a traditional well service trailer. In fact, if you're at the barbecue today, or or at Thrive, there's a trailer out front, right? And it's a single chassis. It's obviously longer than your traditional chassis that we would see on 2,500 horsepower. But we're seeing that it's typically a well service application. So instead of a diesel or dual fuel technology, we have a large gas engine. It's 20-cylinder. Historically, it's a 12-cylinder diesel engine up there, so it's a longer chassis. The horsepower goes from 2,500 to 3,600 horsepower, so we're now about 2x on actual pumping out of the trailer.
Yep.
And so it's predominantly the GMS is going to be a system sold into the well service fracturing market.
Yep. which makes sense. It was just, and then as you guys, brought it to the market and you thought about this a little bit more, was this customer feedback that were like, hey, we need more horsepower, bigger fracking jobs, and that's kind of how you guys came to this, to bringing it out?
I remember sitting with some of our key customers about 4 years ago, and something that Chris and I and the team are really responsible for is like, what is that voice of customer? What are the things that they need in our Caterpillar products, not just next year, but like long term? And there were several big themes that came out of our discussions, and you anchored a couple of them already, Bill, but I think fundamentally the first thing was the ability to run natural gas.
Yeah.
If you think about the industry where we were 15 years ago, we had an abundance of natural gas in the U.S. They didn't know what to do with it.
Yep.
The infrastructure really wasn't there. So a dual fuel strategy really made sense. And so Caterpillar launched our DGB platform 15 years ago on our Tier 2 assets for drilling and well service. And that allowed the customers to run diesel or a blend of natural gas and diesel. And for the last 10 years, they've really been able to understand how to bring CNG to the field, how to get field processing where it needs to be. And then from there, they're now at a point where like, hey, I think we can do a complete dedicated natural gas solution.
Yep.
And so that was one thing that they're like, if we can do a natural gas engine, we think we have the infrastructure now in the place to actually operate 24/7, 365 days with that solution. So that was really around fuel and fuel savings for the end customer. The second thing that the natural gas solution brings to them is a reduction in emissions, right? It's obviously moving away from diesel technology to a natural gas. You're going to have a lower greenhouse gas emissions profile, which is really significant and obviously a big metric for a lot of the E&Ps. And then the third thing that the industry is really calling for is around power density.
Yep.
We're now moving to multiple wells on location. We're moving to simul-frac as a minimum.
Yeah,
continuous pump in certain situations. So the pad size or the location of horsepower on location's significantly gone up.
Yep.
So they asked for, hey, what is the maximum amount of horsepower we can fit on a trailer? And so when we sit in our toolbox and look at our engine platforms, we looked at the 12-cylinder, 16, 20. Well, we did a lot of design work around, hey, can we get the 20-cylinder to fit on a chassis?
Yeah.
And make it road legal and get it around and actually bring that power to location, or that much power density to location. But what we've seen, I think what's really exciting about that is, the trailer, can get up to about 12, 13 barrels a minute per pumping trailer. And that's about 2x some of the legacy technologies. So for simul-frac or continuous pumping, where they have this big need of power density, this higher horsepower engine really accomplishes that, which is super exciting.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about the market on that. Like, where have you, again, you said it's basically been around for a year, but really 7 months since it's been unveiled. How is the market taken to the product, and where are you guys seeing that kind of go? Like, what's the backlog, and as you is thinking about getting more out there?
Yeah, no, it's been real exciting. I think a lot of our customers all started with one unit or a handful of units, and what they really wanted to do was get experience with the technology and then be able to go and demonstrate it for multiple end users that they pump for.
Yep.
And so what we've seen with those first trailers is that they've kind of made it their own road show.
Okay.
Where they'll go on location, they'll pump for maybe a month or two, and then they'll go and move to a different end user. We've also seen people take those trailers and validate, does it work in the Permian? Does it work in the ambient temperatures and altitude in the Haynesville or some of the conditions up in the Northeast? We have some units in Canada as well that are going to get through their second winter, right? Okay. So we're seeing a lot of them validate, like, where does this technology work? What are the things that, where does this go in our technology? All these customers have Tier 2s, Tier 4, they have E-Frac. How does GMS sit inside the portfolio, and really where do they want to leverage that to make that?
I mean, that's kind of where I was going next is, okay, so where, as you guys see it with your customers, where do you think that ends up sitting? You kind of hit all the different levels of where it would, like, does it end up being more on the E-Frac side, or where does it all kind of fit?
I think we're going to see, we're still at a high level, a very capital constrained environment, right? It's very focused on, like, customer contracts and where can I deploy the capital and make a good return.
Yep.
And that's what's great about GMS, right? It's a single trailer solution, and the capital requirements are more than a tier 2 or tier 4 legacy trailer, but they're not as expensive as maybe going to a full e-frac solution, where an e-frac is a great solution. It brings a lot of benefits to the well site. But you have power gen, and then you have your traditional pumping trailer, and so you have a lot more trailers on location.
Yeah.
And then obviously the capital for the power gen is quite expensive.
Quite an
Yeah. All right. So I think the capital that the requirement for GMS is a good fit.
Yep.
And we're seeing that really is part of what a lot of people in 2026 are looking at. How do I bring more of these trailers to the marketplace?
Yeah. It sounds like it's a more capital, I mean, not just a little less capital than the full e-frac, which is obviously the du jour right now. But if you can find a way for it to be super efficient, less emissions, that's a really good.
It checks a lot of the boxes that those technologies deployed do. I mean, you get the power density, you get the fuel reduction because it is an all natural gas solution, and then the emission profile is significantly lower.
So on the fuel for this, are you able to use field gas, or are you bringing this in? How does that kind of work for the GMS?
No, it's a good discussion. We've seen in our units that are in the field, we've had a variety of CNG, and field gas used on the trailers. Historically, the CNG is what most people have started with because it's very controlled. And we have maybe 1 or 5 trailers on location, so they can manage that really well. And then now, after about 6 months of running on CNG, we've had several customers that have pretty robust field gas infrastructure, processing skids, and that's allowed them to then shift into running on field gas. I think it'll shift based on, but the engine capabilities can run on both, which is really critical, right? That the gas engine can, we've been making gas engines for 70 years.
Yeah, you guys kind of know what you're doing when it comes to that.
So it's really exciting to see that, we can basically take, input into the engine. The engine can manually adjust as needed, and then we can continue to pump as different fuels are running through the unit.
Great. Well, next kind of topic I wanted to hit on was a little on power. I mean, that's a big topic around here at the barbecue. I think that in the oil field, power has been one of those things. Distributed power, you guys provide a lot of the horsepower to create that power. So if you guys want to talk a little bit about that would be great too.
Yeah, I think it's a very timely question as well, as you mentioned, as we look at the power gap. Will between supply and demand, and what's causing that. And I guess it's no surprise or no secret that a lot of the data center demand is driving a lot of that power demand from on the grid. That is leading to definitely a gap in between supply and the demand growth for the data center expansion.
Right.
And I think we look at NERCON's latest projections, right? They're looking to go from around 80 to 150 gigawatts.
That is a huge number.
Right.
And it's more growth than they've ever done in the last 20 years of expansion, right?
Right.
So you've got this, the bold target there, but also then, that's, there's probably about that 3-year wait time for permitting, let alone the infrastructure that goes along with that. So that is definitely, as we could discuss with our end users and service providers at Customer Mac, that is a headwind for some of their operations.
Right.
So for sure, our customer base, our oil and gas companies are looking to diversify and look at alternative energies and expand the energy mix, whilst there is a shortage of supply for the grid.
So then, from a Caterpillar perspective, I mean, you guys we talk about this a lot at TEP, right? That 90 to 160 or 180, the numbers kind of end up all over the place, but even to like 110 or 120 gigawatts, that's a huge increase.
Yeah.
How does Caterpillar play in that? Because the distributed side, or the engines are coming, you guys have the ability to bring them to market far faster than getting a big turbine from somebody else.
Sure, and Caterpillar, we're very proud of our recip solutions, as well as our solar turbine innovation as well. Whilst their customers can't wait on the grid expansion, as you mentioned, they have to look at other other maybe behind the meter microgrid opportunities
Right.
to power their end goals. Caterpillar has it.
There's some guys here that do the behind the meter. I'm sure there's some of your customers that are here talking about that too.
Both, yeah, absolutely. And as we look at where Caterpillar then plays, of course, we've got a very established. Collin mentioned the history and pedigree of gas power gen lineup, but we continue to invest heavily in our capabilities at power density there as well. But for sure, the wait time on the grid, directed 30, allows us to work with our customers, understand their operations and work customer back and understand what does the energy mix need to look like. And of course, Caterpillar's G3520. Now, Collin mentioned the gas mechanical. We also have the power generation, the genset option of that. Or we have many varieties of the power gen side, in addition to higher megawatts, 4 megawatts on up on the civil turbines. And of course, we can then work with our customers on a control strategy, using Caterpillar controls to optimize that energy mix, whether it be gas recip, G3520s, solar turbines, or either Caterpillar's energy storage, to really get the most optimal solution to what customer is to do. And to add on to that, Adam mentioned about ERCOT's growth. Permian alone is going to be about 70 gigawatts of that, or maybe just shy of 15, maybe by 2030. And we're so well positioned, it's not over in the US, but zeroing on the Permian Basin with an abundance of energy of natural gas, whether that be field gas, associated gas that we can run on it. Collin mentioned that the ability to run a wide range of that gas. If you look at our oil field customers, the E&Ps, also service providers, there's an abundant, reliable, relatively low cost energy source that we could turn into power generation. And with the platforms that Caterpillar can offer, scalable, great opportunity to power, large block loading, high transients, and provide reliable power to oil field applications.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. So, for CAT as a whole, right? I mean, you've got all these products that it can hit the oil field, and then, the larger power on demand type of, markets. How are you guys thinking? I'm sure CAT as a whole, you guys are obviously selling to the oil field, but how is CAT as a whole, working on the backlog, working on, actually being able to produce all of these engines? Because that's one of the big problems that we're seeing in some other spots, but you guys are so big. How have you guys thought about that? I'm sure that's changed pretty dramatically over the last 5 years.
Well, I think he goes beyond even just 5 years. I mean, Collin mentioned, the how many years we've been in the natural gas space on our upsip and turbine side. So we continue to invest in the portfolio, and we did in the press, some of our expansion plans as well. But the great thing is we have a very diverse portfolio between our natural gas turbine, different recip options as well, energy storage that we can then, use those building blocks and work customer back to see what is the customer end goal, and what solutions that we have in, the wider Caterpillar family that we can satisfy that need for.
Cool. So what's next for you guys? I mean, again, you talked a little bit about this earlier. You were thinking 15 years ago about this natural gas solutions. And what is CAT thinking for the next steps for, whether it's in the oil field or on the power side?
I think I'll take a stab at the oil field first. I think for GMS, technologies like that, we still need to get hydrocarbons out of the ground. So how do we do that efficiently? How do we do that with a low emission profile? So I think, just taking the GMS as an example, what is Gen 2 of GMS, right? We went as fast as we could, taking our 3520, taking our TS55, making that pair together. How do we then take our lessons learned and then come out with a Gen 2? And maybe there's some things there on the engine side. Maybe there's some things on the overall system. Caterpillar has a RSPM portfolio as well, which is our power engine. So how do we make today that whole system optimized, right? And so maybe developing power and technology or other technologies on the pump side that allow us to get as much out of that full trailer as possible. So that we really can bring, again, the best-in-class solution on frac I think, power density is still like probably the biggest thing we're chasing. I think when we look at everything, it's just the amount of power requirements. It's like, so how do we get more and more out of an engine cylinder? That's what the technology teams are really looking at, is how do we do control logic, right, to tie into maybe locations where, hey, there's some grid, we need greenfield power. How do we make those things work together?
Yep.
So there's a lot of controls, but we have our battery storage systems.
And you got to make it all fit on a skid too, right? I mean, the density has got to be a big part of it as well.
And I think the great thing about Caterpillar, we've got, amazing sister divisions that we can leverage and work with, and, port across different technologies as we look, our customer needs in oil and gas.
Yeah.
But on the power gen side, very similar to what Collin just mentioned, right? We look at customers' needs, customer back, one of their site requirements, and then see, well, what solutions can be that great and optimize, right? And for sure, controls logic is a big part of that. Yeah. And make sure that each solution is optimized and provides that reliable power that customers have always relied on Caterpillar.
All right, so I think we've hit pretty much everything that I was thinking through. Is there anything that I've missed over here? I want to ask you guys that question.
No, Chris hit it a little bit, but I think Caterpillar's obviously anchored in investing significantly in this space, right? We have publicly come out with a lot of the investment strategy around our facilities for engines, reciprocating engines, and our turbines. And then we're seeing a lot of those things start to come online in 26, and in 27 and 28, we still have several phases of that. Mm-hmm. That's really, Caterpillar is significantly, investing back into our capabilities to make sure that we can do that. And then on the other side of it, our dealer network, specifically, a lot of the big U.S. dealers have put significant resources into their rebuild facilities.
Yep.
To their part stocking capabilities, so that we can, now that we have the equipment moving to the field, that we're ready to service it on the back end. And that's a really big thing that the dealer network has really stepped up, and we want to make sure that we're here to not only sell the equipment up front, but to service it and have a 30, 40-year asset life in the field. So we're excited about both fronts of the equation here.
Nice, because a bunch of your dealers are here too. So.
Absolutely, they're big part of our success and customer support, and we're a lockstep with them. But Collin, hit the nail on the head there. Is the service support, the uptime, and reliability, and the dealers are at the forefront of that with their reliable trade technicians that support the retaining equipment or the power gen side.
Nice. All right, so I'm going to switch it a little bit to the barbecue and ask you. Are you guys looking forward to any of the food here, or are you guys going to go try to find? You don't have to name a company name if you don't want to. Anywhere where you're headed at some point here today?
I think I'd like to put a shout out to the Caterpillar and SPO Cook. We bring our own employees in, so they're the talented individuals that work tirelessly day in, day out on the Caterpillar side. They've been here, since the weekend grabbings and working tirelessly. So I got full confidence in the CAT team on barbecue. Very proud of our team. But as always, I've not eaten for 3 days and they came for a great feast. And as always, Daniels and yourself do just such a tremendous job with this event. Collin mentioned earlier that the industry works tirelessly every year, and this is just such a great event that everyone will come out. Maybe let the relief valve off a little bit, network, socialize. All in looking forward to it.
I'm a brisket guy, so I'm definitely anxious to go walk around and see what we can find there. But also the wild game category is always unique to see what kind of creativity the industry can pull out. I know our guys have something there dialed up. It'll be fun. So
I can't reveal it right now.
Get top secret, but
This is the secret sauce.
Well, if you guys are bored at about at 2 times, you can come and judge the wild game if you want to. Just find me or one of the
people. Let you do that.
Or the brisket and the ribs competition. We always need more people to judge, even though it is probably one of the most fun things to do here. You just get to sit around, talk to some other executives, and then eat brisket and ribs or some interesting wild game stuff.
Can't beat that.
Yeah. Well, hey guys, thank you both very much for doing this. I hope that this is good for you guys.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us. I appreciate the hosting.
Oh yeah, and actually, I'll do one more plug. You guys, your podcast is about to move over to the Upright Digital Podcast Network at the beginning of the year next year, so I want to put a plug in for that.
so that people can listen.
We're thrilled about that move, and we're excited through next year to be having our platform, come across to Upright Digital. Thrilled about that announcement, and again, that really appreciate Jackdaws Edge Partners for not only the barbecue but hosting us today.
Yeah, one other thing, if anyone's got questions after this, where's the best place to find the two of you, or who should they reach out to?
For sure. Through today, myself and Collin are going to be here in and around, with customers walking the event. But outside of this, absolutely, questions. You can reach out to your local dealer. You can reach out to cat.com. For sure, come and find myself, Collin, or any of the Caterpillar and SBFT who are here, and Silver Turbines that get today as well. I'll be happy to field additional questions.
Great. Well, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.